to quite be ready for this game. So as we look at that last game, Fnatic, you heard Krepo talking about it on the analyst desk. A little bit grouped up when it came to their plays. Not a lot of plays were happening unless they were all 5 members together, and that kind of bled through into a lot of their play style, a lot of their setups on like itemization. We saw the ROCCAT out of SOAS.
Yeah, those guys were hard to kill.
Problem with that is, as Krepo was saying, it leaves you with very few options on what you actually do as a play. So I want to see whether Fnatic now branch out, maybe try and play a little bit further apart with a lot of good vision control in between, because that's one of the things that separates a lot of these play styles.
Yeah, and one of those big things that was a surprise was that LeBlanc, despite all the nerfs last time around, I wonder if Fnatic won't hesitate to pick that one up again. We'll find out as we load into picks and bans. Part Deuce. It's going to be the LeBlanc band, or the Camille band away. I have LeBlanc on the brain, Stress.
I was going to say, I think there will be a hesitation on picking the LeBlanc in this one. So last game, Fnatic banned out the Malzahar, the Lulu, and the Camille. So we're on track for the same again.
Yeah, the Lee Sin is no surprise. Once again, Brox's signature champion for him. He's definitely got quite a few of them, but something that ROCCAT clearly don't want to deal with. The Malzahar bans. There's a Gragas taken off the board. Pretty much the same thing we saw last time around.
ROCCAT feeling comfortable with the draft as it was. Fnatic, will it be the Lulu taken off the board? There we go.
Wow. Predictions.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is our last one going to be Shen?
I actually didn't write that down, so I'm glad you had that.
I got your back, buddy. There we go.
Yes, it is the Shen, which would leave us first pick Graves. It worked for Broxa. Like, why not? Why not for Fnatic again?
It's a formula. Is it going to be the one for success for Fnatic? They got one game right now in hand over ROCCAT. Well, I suppose we'll find out. Wait, one. And man, you are a genius.
Nautilus Ezreal.
All right. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to wait.
It's going to be a long pick ban phase.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's the case.
I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with Nautilus Ezreal here either. Ezreal, of course, one of the AD carries a lot of people are expecting because of the nerfs to the likes of Jhin, Varus on 7.5. Ezreal, a very safe AD carry that can scale well into the late game.
And there it is. Let's see if they pick it. Hovered right now. Has been a comfort pick for Reckless, and it continues to be. It's locked in.
And I think Nautilus is actually a legitimate pick right now because you can either flex it or you can put it up in that top lane. Good matchups into a lot of things. As in, like, there aren't many matchups that punish it super hard. And last game, we saw Fnatic ban out a lot of the counter matchups to Nautilus in the laning phase, at least.
And they take it once again. So, very formulaic in the pick and ban for Phase 1. ROCCAT, their last choice up. If all goes according to plan,
would be the Jhin. Would be the Jhin. It worked well for Hyun. And honestly, like, the 6 picks that we may end up having were not the problem in Draft 1. So maybe we'll see Draft 2, Phase 2, be different. I think Jhin actually is a solid pick here.
Yeah, but they don't have to take it now. Oh, they throw a curveball. It's going to be the Renekton lock.
So Renekton lock means we are likely to have that Jhin banned away by Fnatic, along with either another AD carry or that Vladimir. Would be a good setup, I think.
All right, we'll see if Fnatic does it.
But they're getting the Renekton here because it was banned away in Game 1. Rumble Renekton were banned in Phase 2. And that meant that Faxi had to go to the Kled to try and find his way into a matchup that he could bully the side lane. Now, ROCCAT automatically have a setup unless Fnatic flex, pick Gnar, and put Nautilus down as the support, which is a possible decision they can make. So ROCCAT may very well ban Gnar here to lock that potential away.
They could do it. Fnatic, they ban a different kind of marksman. It's the Ziggs that we've seen even earlier in today. So the Jhin's still up and available for the time being. There's the Orianna ban out, so ROCCAT, their bans are exactly the same. Fnatic have been the ones mixing things up a little bit here. Let's see what their last is.
Leaves us in a precarious position for ROCCAT. They're banking on the fact that Jezz is likely to just play the Karma again, which is one of the reasons why, obviously, now ROCCAT without their AD carry locked in, and Tahm Kench as a support, there aren't too many lanes that you'd be too worried about from Fnatic now in that bot lane. Will it be the Vlad here? Or will it be Sivir?
There's the Vlad.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, getting more AP off the board. It was a big one for Betsy in the last game. Ball's back in ROCCAT's court. Let's see what they take for their AD carry choice.
Jhin,
and no brainer.
Like Jhin here, because it's one of the AD carries that obviously everybody is still playing. We've kind of had a lot of the critics saying Jhin would be taken away from the pools. Answered to by some of the European teams here, specifically in the 2 matchups today. Jhin has still played a big part. Leaves ROCCAT with the mid lane matchup to attempt to counter. However, Fnatic, they have the Syndra if they want it. The LeBlanc, I don't think they'll go for again, but they could. And Karma is likely to be the support pick for Jez's unless they're doing that Nautilus flex.
Yeah, here's where we find out if they go for it. Soaz seemed fairly comfortable in being able to take on the Kled by just building a lot of Doran's rings. Will that be the same case this time around? Timer's ticking for Fnatic. They need to lock soon. It's going to be that Karma, so there will be no trickery on that side.
So at this point, now we get another 30 seconds for Fnatic to decide exactly where they want a safe mid lane matchup. As we said, Syndra likely to be the one that comes through. I don't think they'll go anything for like a Zed or one of these riskier mid lane picks. I don't think that's quite where they'll be going. They'll be heavy in the AD, so it's likely to be an AP. There is a safe mid laner if they want it, although that is late game scaling coming out of Fnatic mostly across the map.
Yeah, they have quite a bit of it there. The Ezreal, the Graves also. ROCCAT, their last choice now, will be the mid lane. What are they going to take into the Victor?
Into Victor. Well, Victor's a wave clearing mid laner, so if you're going late game, it's difficult to out damage a Victor, difficult to out wave clear him. They may go for earlier alongside this Renekton, but that would leave them in a rough situation. Ryze took a couple of nerfs, but this is Betsy we're talking about. There's always a few other picks.
It's always the Swain.
The Vlad's off the board, taking the Swain now for ROCCAT. Another mid laner that needs a little time, but provides that front line threat.
So that gives them a little bit more scaling, but it has been pretty early game across the board. ROCCAT now on the 7.5 patch. Sticking to some of the things they know, sticking to the power that they have, but if Fnatic can outlive and outlast, man, these guys get real big the later on in the game. We'll find out if that's the case. If it happens, one game up for Fnatic right now. ROCCAT are struggling. They're going to need to find one more just to take it to the match point of the series.
ROCCAT, this is their playstyle we've talked about a couple of times now. As Swain ranks highly for Betsy. It's actually one of his highest win rate champions. He's won 2/3 of games he's played on Swain, 6 of 9 in his career.
Wow, see if he can make it 7 of 10 anyways. That's how math works, right?
That is how math works.
Good, I got it right for once.
I appreciate the voice.
I was trying.
That was
I was
there.
trying. It didn't work.
I appreciate it. I'm just letting you know that I caught it.
I'm glad. That's really the reason I do it, Stress. It's for you. All right, so the teams are going to load up once again. All serious faces right now. No fun times for Fnatic, for ROCCAT. They are all deadpan.
They are. Fnatic.
Silence falls.
We're a little relieved after the last game, being able to wrestle control back away from ROCCAT.
These guys had a rough couple of weeks. I mean, they had to face down against Unicorns of Love, and the week before that it was H2K. Hard to expect in the state that Fnatic have been throughout this split to really come up on top against those teams. However, if they can get a big convincing win over ROCCAT here, it would put them on the right track once again. Get them very safe, and they can look forward to their playoff spot. Now, for ROCCAT, they're just trying to stay alive, avoid the relegation zone. Let's find out if they can do it as we load onto the Rift for game number 2.
Game number 2 of this best of 3 between Fnatic versus ROCCAT. Game 1 showed us that Reckless Jez's are just going to mercilessly push in this bot lane. It is the same duos. So that will give Fnatic a little bit of control on the bottom side of the map. Obviously, Swain with the Laser Bird does have some sense of push, but you're against a Victor, so inevitably you end up losing that trade. A lot of lasers in the mid lane.
Yeah, actually.
In this matchup.
It's going to be pretty sweet. Big light show. All right. Let's see what happens different this time, though. There's slight changes up in the way that ROCCAT played out the draft, and Wadid's not going to get spotted by the Mystic Shot. Will ROCCAT play this out a little differently? We saw some movements down towards the bottom side from Fnatic in game 1. We saw Maxlor having a hard time. Let's see if he passed differently. Yeah,
a lot of that pathing difficulty out of Maxlor was the fact that there were a couple of adjustments to Rengar's early clear. Maxlor went for that Korean clear, as people dub it, where you go Raptors, Red, Krugs, recall, and try to look for your bottom buff after that. But is this an invade coming out? I'm looking at the positioning from Victor here. There's a lot of damage down onto Wadid in the bot side.
Looks like it.
Caps and Soaz. They know that they can be a little late to lane and still afford to offset Maxlor. They haven't spotted him on Raptors, so they get the knowledge. He's not there. Ward goes over the wall. They spot Maxlor out. They know Faxi was helping out, so we'll be a little later to lane, but Soaz was too. So knowledge has been gained.
I don't think it's even, but the knowledge is the power for Fnatic in this early game. Broxah.
Look at that in Maxlor's head. They are in Maxlor's head. Maxlor just did an on-the-way ping to his blue buff.
Oh.
Maxlor is going buff to buff as opposed to game one. That's a heavy trade in bot side.
Yeah, that's actually really great for Yarnin, but going back to the jungle star, Maxlor's not taking any risks, so how does this change his early game? He looks like he's going to be set behind again.
Well, this start now means Maxlor can't be on top side if Broxah ends up going there in the early onset of this game. However, bot lane is where so much of the trading has happened.
Level 1, no gray health. Oh boy, they've got heal. They might need to use it. Yarnin body blocking for what did. They stepped way too far out of bounds.
As you said, no gray health this early on, and it means damage down onto Wadid, so we can turn our focus from the jungle now onto this bot lane. You can see Fnatic shoving back out. They've taken good trades in bot lane to get the push, get the vision control now, and just assume control of this bot half of the map.
All right, Jez is around the side once again, finds a Mantra, inner flame, the wave is getting melted. Maxlor with his double buffs. Oh no, he's spotted in vision again.
Crosses over the control ward, he knows it's there.
Broxah.
Which means he knows he's got to be careful.
Broxah peels off Gromp right now, he wants to fight him.
Yeah, they're fighting over this early control ward. Maxlor does take the return on that Q.
Oh boy, but Betsy's incoming. There's a flash out of Broxah. Even Foxy made a move down towards it now. That's going to be the end of it, no first blood, and Maxlor wins the ward war.
Yeah, no real predictable pathing out of Maxlor here, being very unorthodox compared to most jungle routes. Buff, wolves into the opposite side scuttle crab.
Yeah.
So
he's mind gaming who at this point?
Trying to adapt on the fly. Broxah ended up taking a rough trade, forced to flash, so not quite the same result as the first game.
All right.
That's a lot of minions Faxi's trading into.
Yeah, we hadn't checked in the top this game. Last time around on that Kled, he was trying to really outplay, but against the triple Doran start from Soaz, it was hard. Now Faxi is on a Renekton, a very powerful, pushy top laner. What can he do against this experienced top of Soaz?
Well, it's early game trading and sustain that you've got to be careful of that comes from the kit. You can see with the Q, Faxi just kind of takes a lot of the minions down in health, gets some health back for himself, and after he took a really bad trade and ended up being half his health.
That was almost real bad for Jez's.
Almost.
Yeah.
Jez's had it under control. It was.
You don't cancel the back. You got to wait there. You wait there. You wait there, and it's like, as soon as you're leaving, toodaloo.
Toodaloo, indeed, from that bot lane. So there's a lot of trading going on in the early game here from both sides. Faxi's trying to shove out top side.
Feeling it out, back and forth. Wait until we hit to the ultimate levels before the action really starts to get big. I wonder if Faxi takes the incentive to push in, try to get a play down on the bottom side. ROCCAT, they definitely have all the tools in their kit to be able to make plays in the early game. Question is, will they do it and where?
One difficulty for making plays later on in the game that ROCCAT are going to face, again, is locking down Reckless. Like, Renekton suffers when you face high mobility AD carries, like an Ezreal, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Now Maxlor and Broxah again trading. Remember, Broxah's no flash.
Okay, in comes Swain. That's a never move for first blood, and Maxlor getting some revenge for last game.
Over-aggressive from Broxah, trying to utilize the push they had in bot lane, but he didn't have his flash available. They were trying to get wards down in favor of Fnatic and end up getting punished.
Yeah, and now you can see ROCCAT are making moves inside the Fnatic jungle. They're placing a couple of deep wards, and there's nothing Fnatic can really do to stop this. Oh, this is a good start. Cloud Drake's on the map. They're not going to go for it just yet because we're only 5.5 in, but they've got map control.
So we had the question answered a little as well now from Betsy and Caps in that mid lane. Swain has decent push early on. Victor, of course, will be able to wave clear that later and later as we go on in this one. But it's all about utilizing this vision they now have on bot side. If they push and move with the Swain, it's possible for them to surprise Fnatic if Fnatic are pushing out on the bot side. But you can see Betsy's going to outlast Caps.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's
going in real deep. The Raven's not enough to get it. And we're checking in last time in the matchup. It was that LeBlanc for Caps that was really making Betsy's life hard a little bit. But tables definitely turned here, even with Broxah coming to help out.
Yeah, when you look at the laning phase, like, Betsy actually held his own, being up at CS at 10 minutes. We still going to be tracking that as we get closer to that 10-minute mark. But Betsy's been doing okay in the laning phase. It was outside of that that really Betsy started to shine, though. This was the engage onto Broxah. There's no flash, trying to get vision. Jez was trying to help him out, but honestly, there was no real way out from that. ROCCAT just faster to the engage. You can see Caps barely even got out of mid lane.
Yeah. Maxlor had a level disadvantage too, and he just had more friends, in all honesty. Teleport going to get burned by Faxi, as Soaz had already gone back up with his up to the top side. Checking in across the board, it's Phage versus Ninja Tabby. Of course, down in this bottom lane, it has been even affair once again, but Reckless still stacking on the tier. Yarnan and Wadid, it's on them to try and get the counter push.
It is. They're finally getting some of that counter push thanks to that flash being down on Jez's. Jez's is able to kind of contest some of this CS less than you would normally expect.
Contest the CS less.
Yeah.
That's a good vocal warm-up.
It would be.
I'm going to use that one next time. Maxlor is making moves once again, but he's spotted. That was the ward that looked like Broxa placed down earlier on, and the control ward goes in to the river. Broxa, he's spotted doing his red buff. Wadid and Yarnan shoving a wave in. Let's see if they try to contest this one again. Broxa might know something's up. He's going to finish it off, and Maxlor actually didn't go in for him. Yeah,
Maxlor doesn't really have the opportunity to get there. Betsy hadn't shoved fully out in mid. Now Cabs has to be careful of the trade.
Ooh, destroying them with lasers. Let's see who has the damage. Neither mid laner has it for now. Still fairly tanky on this Swain.
It looks great, but
yeah, I mean, it's flashy.
Not a lot of damage.
That's the thing about lasers. Need to power them. All right, getting this blue buff here. Betsy will have a little bit more mana cooldown reduction. Still stacking, of course, for him. He's only sitting on the catalyst for now.
Just going to stack up.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really anticipate having maximum damage at this point. You can see Fnatic now trying to shove back out. This has been their prerogative all game long. Just push, push, push as much as they can. Open up as much space as they can for Broxa.
And don't honestly get caught. They're pretty slippery on this team. Once again, same kind of composition.
That bit hasn't gone so well so far in this game.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Broxa.
The one time for Broxa.
Yeah.
Moving out too far into the enemy jungle.
Yeah. But Broxa honestly stepped up pretty well on this LCS stage. Like, maybe it's not exactly what Fnatic needed overall. You know, you can't just sub one player in and expect like a massive change in the team, but he's definitely performed up to the level expected of an LCS jungler. And you know, going toe-to-toe with Maxlor, somebody who looked very impressive when he first took on stage too.
Yeah, it's been an interesting turn of events for Fnatic as an organization. Of course, their academy team was affected by it as well, but ROCCAT, they want to make proactive moves here, pushing onto the top tower. They know that Fnatic was still in the bot lane. They're going to get tower first blood from this. There's no real response coming from Fnatic. It's a good, fast play from ROCCAT to utilize this time catch.
Solid Abyssal Voyage here, and they've got Soaz locked up for just a second. Wadid's going to have to pop his Grey Health as he's tanking up the tower. Foxy going a little bit low. Finally, they will finish it. The curtain call gets open. Have they overcommitted trying to defend? It's Fnatic. It's Soaz. He's going down. It's Yarnan that gets the kill.
Good setup from ROCCAT, bringing that Abyssal Voyage across. Get that tower, and look, bot lane, the minion wave is going to die before Fnatic can actually take it, so even if they get this tower, it's going to be heavily delayed from when ROCCAT got it. Oh, Broxa.
Wadid's back is stopped, but all the same, ROCCAT don't lose a man on that push, and now Fnatic will manage to get the bottom tower. They needed a second wave of minions to do it, but they secure it.
It was a lot later than Fnatic could get it. You can see Kiana was trying to get there, popped his Ghost Blade, trying to run. Jin, not exactly the fastest speed runner. Yeah.
He definitely needs to go on the treadmill a few more times before he can catch up to what Reckless and Jez's were doing. You gotta get fast.
Yeah,
you gotta get those boots.
Is it really about speed so much on a treadmill? Like,
I mean, have you tried to speed run on a treadmill?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you don't exactly go, I'm gonna do 100 meters on this treadmill and go.
All right, it's calories, but still. I'm trying to make a point, Stress.
I think you might be using a treadmill wrong, Pyro.
Well, you know. I do my own workout program. Okay, Faxy's pushing up topside. I'm changing the subject. Forget about this. Soaz is going to hold him off for now because that's a long lane. You can't get over that, can you?
I just got that vision in my head. It's okay. It's all good. Speaking about going fast, there's a Cloud Drake.
Oh, baby.
Which means nobody's going quickly to the Drake, but once you take it, you start running faster away from it. So we'll see if any team actually prioritizes that one. Earlier on, I believe we had a Cloud Drake that survived until like 45 minutes on in the game.
Yeah, that sometimes happens.
It was a long game when nobody wanted Cloud Drake.
Sometimes you got to feel bad, but it has definitely been better than when initially released. We did the math way back in the day and found that it really wasn't all that impressive, but it got buffed up, and maybe it'll be a tastier objective now. ROCCAT are making tracks down here, though. Look at that.
Yeah, look at the net start to close in. ROCCAT was starting to drift down to the bot lane, but they got spotted out. They have to commit back over towards mid.
Okay, Faxy dueling with Soaz, does not pop his Dominus. Maxlor, once again, trying to make a play down bottom. He pings. He's going to have to sweep away that ward, but that'll give Fnatic the heads up. That's something that's coming. A lot of vision for ROCCAT in this bottom jungle.
Been a slow roll of a play coming through here. Reckless going to try and defend. They get the minion. ROCCAT will back out.
Yeah, there goes the wave.
ROCCAT, they've tried a second time and didn't quite get the play on bot side.
Yeah. ROCCAT tried really hard. They're very committing to it, but there really wasn't anything else to go for on the map right now. Maybe try to take the Drake, but they just didn't value it enough. Caps finds the birds pecking at his face as Betsy continues to keep this wave pushed. It's again.
I feel like ROCCAT going to that same plan again and again and again is a lot like Lord Zed and Rita trying to just throw one monster at a time.
Oh, here we go.
At the Earth. Like, just overwhelm them, throw them all, and then maybe you'll get them. But ROCCAT is just going in. But you get some sweet
fights about it. That's the whole point, Stress, and hopefully we get that too.
This game doesn't need to be as formulaic as an episode, okay? You can just look for the play and look for the play fast.
I knew this was happening.
Try and just take over, but ROCCAT, they're kind of stumbling on this play. They made one good play. Like, let's be real. Getting that tower down in the top lane was a good start for ROCCAT. It's got them a good lead on this game. But they're kind of umming and ahhing about actually investing in a bot lane play because Fnatic are doing a good job defensively of all of this warding. In fact, he's trying to push topside, but it's not enough on its own.
Yeah. 13 minutes into this game, it has stalled out a little bit here. And ROCCAT, they have the gold lead, but they're unable to get any more to extend it any further. Yarn and did just in 2v2 trying to duel it out. Jez's, though, stepped far forward to try and make the big play here. Betsy's going to pick up his blue in the midst of it all, but you can see how the vision game has shifted. After ROCCAT were unable to get the tower down bottom, Fnatic took the opportunity to restock their own jungle full of wards, and the ones of ROCCAT are running out.
We've got a wave clear matchup mid lane, though.
Yeah, we do.
Betsy gets blue buff. Sits in mid lane with Swain, pushes the wave. Victor clears it out with the death laser. So good luck ever getting mid tower without setting a play up for it, which is what we did. And Kianan and Maxlor can look to do if they can actually get control. But problem is, as you said, Fnatic's warding game has been too good. So without reducing that, very difficult for ROCCAT to make a play.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them for the time being. And, well, we'll see what Betsy can make do. He gets the never move onto Caps. The laser turns right back around, and yeah, it's just tickling each of these mid laners right now. It's hard to dish damage when you got that sustain. ROCCAT, they might be eyeballing the dragon after all.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot else for them to do on the Rift. You can at least cycle the dragons if you commit to it. If you end up now, maybe the next one's Infernal. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to roll the dice sometimes. If you never take the Cloud Drake, you're never going to find out what comes next.
But at the same time, I mean, that's if you'd rather play a zero-sum dragon game, now Fnatic swap it up to the top side. They're going to be the team to make a proactive move. They're a little frustrated by Faxi pushing up top and then moving and trying to create plays elsewhere. So Fnatic are going to be the ones to try and take down the tower themselves. They will lose bot tower in response for it.
But can ROCCAT react in time to stop this from happening? They're looking to collapse here, and it looks like they might be getting cold feet. Fnatic, they're trying to finish this off in a hurry. ROCCAT have backed away. So for all the playmaking that ROCCAT were attempting to make in the early game, it got stalled out for a minute. Fnatic were the ones that turned it around. They're going to still push.
It's an even trade, though, and ROCCAT, remember, they did take the first tower of the game down, but they have more members here. They've got Graves, they've got Ezreal, and we're in to the split screen.
As they've caught Faxi right now, he's going to have to flash away. Dominus on. Is it enough? No. So is. He's flashing in for it, and Broxa blows him away. Meanwhile, Wadid and Yarnan are still on this bottom tier 2, but Fnatic have got the tower and change.
It's a near even trade for now, which maintains somewhat of a lead for ROCCAT, but you've got to look at that now. Fnatic end up getting gold, perhaps where they shouldn't have off this play. They get 2 towers from it. ROCCAT aren't able to control the push, and we end up backing away. 2 towers from each team. The dragon looks like it's going over to ROCCAT. The kill went to Fnatic.
1 to 2 in kills. It has been lower in that regard this game. 16 minutes on the clock. Maxlor will secure that dragon, and we'll get to find out the all-important question of which Drake is next.
It's nothing.
Wait for it.
No. I'm looking on my screen. It's another Cloud.
Ah,
great.
That's like when you get through a filler episode and you find out there's another one.
Yeah.
You should never do that. It's like a cardinal sin of television.
ROCCAT will be a little happy with that Cloud Drake, trying to set up fights.
Yeah, they can rotate well with it.
Yeah. So it will be a bit of a benefit to them. Fnatic, again, have a decent amount of mobility, looking predominantly at their bot lane when it comes to avoiding and setting up fights.
But for ROCCAT, we talked a lot in the pick and ban phase about how the draft that they had kind of made for themselves is, with the exception of the Swain, more early game and maybe mid-game focus, and it seems like they kind of lost sight of what that win condition is.
For ROCCAT?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the win condition for them is kind of going to be similar to the last game, where like if Betsy gets to a point where you can't control him and Hyanan gets all this space, later on in the game isn't a bad time for them. The difficulty this time is that there's a Victor along with the Ezreal, right? So in the last game, LeBlanc's damage kind of fell off. Now you got a Victor that's ramping up at the same time. So there is a lot to be said for Fnatic's different mid-lane champion in this one. It will kind of shut down what ROCCAT want to do.
Subtle changes in the picks. That's the whole adaptation in these best of threes. Can ROCCAT hang on? It's important for them. It could have very well won that first game. It was a very close affair. And honestly, hanging tough with Fnatic here, ROCCAT, they've had such a rough split. And you know, trying to avoid the relegation zone, all the more important. You need to pick up these wins wherever you can.
It started to look up, though, for ROCCAT, right? Like, last week, picking up 2 wins on the week against the toughest of, the closest opponents over in Group B. Realistically, like, ROCCAT, if they take a win off Fnatic, that turns so much pressure onto Giants, because then Giants need to beat Fnatic in order to kind of get ahead on the series, because it all ends up tricky as we end into the last few weeks of play. Soaz tanks up a lot of shots there. Yeah,
it was a big fight over that red buff, but they just didn't have enough damage on the ROCCAT side to do anything but tickle Soaz, and they back away empty-handed. The red buff did go the way of Broxa.
And ROCCAT come out on the back end of that fight worse off with their health bars, and Caps wasn't even in the fight. He was over around that blue buff area.
Got Faxi trying to push bottom, though, in the meantime. See if he can get anything off of it. Soaz is meeting him, though. He's honestly been able to stop the Croc.
Yeah, Soaz plus Inhibitor Tower is going to be able to easily deny any kind of push from Faxi. So Faxi's not looking to get a tower from this. He's merely creating pressure and then moving. This is something Crepple was talking about earlier on. When you're pushing side lanes, it's less about, oh, I'm going to just get the tower and relentlessly push. It's more about push the wave out, move across. Get vision, move across. Try and just reduce as much as Fnatic's territory as you actually can.
Get that map control and stop Fnatic from really doing a whole lot on that map. But the plan has definitely been stopped short a little bit. Fnatic have wave clear for days, as you pointed out. It's not just the Victor now, and they're getting themselves up to a place where they can easily contest with ROCCAT. Most of the places on the map, there's not a lot of tasty objectives, though. Baron's not even hit the Rift yet. We're not even 20 minutes into this game, and seems like ROCCAT are scrambling a little bit.
No Baron yet. We haven't reached that point in the episode. Don't need the Megazords.
It's just going to keep happening.
No, I'll...
Nah, it's all right. I know you're excited.
It's my childhood. It's my nostalgia.
That was mine, too. I just don't remember any of that.
It's because you're remembering all of that League knowledge, right, Pirates? Pushed everything out of the brain.
Hey, man, I've been studying hard. I'm trying to get myself up to colorcaster status. If Crepple can be a play-by-play, right, why can't I do the opposite?
That's terrifying.
Nobody wants that, actually. So, just public disclaimer, that's not happening.
I need a minute to catch my breath.
Fnatic, they don't need a minute, though, because they continue to push on here. Relentlessly trying to siege down the mid turret. It's 3 towers to 3.
Faxi's rotating around. There's not a whole lot of vision to spot him out here. It might be too late by the time Fnatic actually spot him. Never Move doesn't quite land. Fnatic will be backing away now. Now the game has revealed itself as Faxi was heading up.
Yeah, that would have been a different story if the Never Move had grabbed Caps for just a second. That could have been ROCCAT's chance to get the big play, but just got to grab these Fnatic members, but they're slippery once again.
Yeah, it's been a composed game so far from both of these teams.
Yeah.
It's been more about the objective game than it has been about kills, which is fair. I mean, that's what a lot of people will look at and say it's a clean game. Clean game, a lot of, few kills, more objectives.
Smart League of Legends, but they're definitely not going in for the action. Well, I think it's smart.
I mean, there are ways to play a smart, clean game by getting kills as well, right? If you're controlling areas of vision and forcing people to tread into dangerous territory, it is a possibility, and that can be a way of playing in a smart manner.
And you can see that the way the damage layers out as well. The tank's doing the most on Fnatic's side because they're just not overcommitting to those fights, and they're letting Soaz be on that front line and dish as good as he's taken.
How much of that damage can we section off as Riptide plus Sunfire Cloak? Sunfire Cake.
We'll have to ask the stats guys if they can break it down like that.
I don't think
I think it's probably going to be a lot.
I'm not sure they actually can, and they'll probably yell at us if we try and get that, but maybe, who knows. I'm being told they would yell at us. They would.
Well, that's
probably more chance of your color casting career than us actually successfully getting that stat.
You're telling me there's a chance. I like it. All right. We're 22 minutes into this one. Hey, guess what, though? It gets exciting because there's another Cloud Drake about to hit the Rift.
This is the epitome of excitement for Drakes. I'm ready for this.
Gotta go fast, man. That's what ROCCAT are thinking.
I mean, Fnatic right now, they're going to sack this second Cloud Drake and try and push mid, but you can see ROCCAT are not going to let them do that. They will react to this play and clear out the mid wave. Betsy clears it out very, very quickly.
Yeah, ROCCAT have actually managed to grab themselves a little bit more control in this bottom jungle again because Fnatic, it looked like they were focused elsewhere on this map, and now with a couple of wards in there, maybe ROCCAT can start making plays. They've got some big speed boost with the double Cloud.
It's worth checking in, though. Look at the CS differences between Fnatic and ROCCAT. I mean, ROCCAT ahead in every single carry, or at least lane. Sure, Brox is up, but
I mean, jungle CS is a little weird, obviously. It doesn't always calculate in gold.
He's playing a melee support, so we ignore those numbers. That doesn't count.
That's a good point, though. I mean, ROCCAT, they've been able to honestly shove the waves just as good as Fnatic have.
Yeah, and it's been a slow, steady game out of Fnatic. That's what they've drafted towards. They've got some key items now after the Morellonomicon. They've got an earlier Executioner's Calling. That's Executioner's Calling before Trinity Force is even complete. Basically just cutting that health down from Betsy instantly rather than looking for Morellonomicon, which takes time. You got to get that Swain low in the first place.
And 2 items with perfect hex core, one of them. Caps and Reckless here for the defense on the mid lane. True Shot Barrage comes and sinks through the wave. ROCCAT just looking for anywhere that they can continue to push in. If the Fnatic game plan is to play it out safe and to play it out slow and overwhelm in the late game, what are ROCCAT going to do to counter that?
Well, for ROCCAT, they need to look somehow. It's not necessarily about getting a fight, but it's when the opportunity presents itself, actually being able to capitalize on a Reckless, on a Caps being out of position. Now, both of these champions in the Victor, in the Ezreal, have good ways of getting themselves out of trouble. Gravity Field, you've got the Arcane Shift as well, but you can see Fnatic ROCCAT smartly looking for the tower now behind the fight. Ezreal's pushing up in mid. Fnatic want to collapse and try and get mid tower for themselves, but if they overextend here, they're going to end up with ROCCAT surrounding them.
Here's Foxy.
He's been waiting for a long time.
And
Reckless checks right in.
Right in top of it right now. Foxy looks like he's tanky enough to be able to hold the line for a minute, but no, he has to flash away as he's caught a little bit low. ROCCAT got a tower.
Yes, and that's enough for ROCCAT to know they don't need to commit for this, because ROCCAT's lead is extending, and it hasn't extended by too much, but it still is more and more in their favor. They now have easier control over the top side jungle, and that's the area that Fnatic, they're going to have to try and come through. Of course, with this mid tower still alive, it's not that easy to secure Baron control.
No, but anything you can get for ROCCAT.
Yep.
Using the Abyssal Voyage once again up on the top side to get that extra one before Fnatic could really react for it. We're 25 minutes into this game, and Fnatic, they may have stalled a little bit, but ROCCAT are still finding places to make plays.
Yeah. 2 Cloud Drakes helping them out with that. They're moving from point to point.
I didn't mention it either, but, well, 2 Cloud Drakes may be fun.
Uh-oh.
But oh, baby.
Really?
Oh, baby. Number 3, you want to talk about going fast, Stress.
Nobody needs that many Cloud Drakes. It's okay. It's going to be real quick for ROCCAT, though. He set up for them. You can see Kianan. That's Home Guards kicking in. That's not the Cloud Drakes.
No, but it's helping. Come on.
It is.
Fnatic are really looking to push on this mid, but I mean, look at how fast they're getting back into lane right now.
Yeah, ROCCAT get into lane. They don't have the Swain there to push back. This is still a third of the health. Now Foxy's going to look to move from bot lane.
No, never move, or it doesn't land, I should say, and chasing them back with the curtain call was enough.
But it's not a full commit out of ROCCAT. Notice, Foxy didn't TP, he just ran, because if Fnatic had committed to that fight, he'd be there in time for the kind of the tail end of the fight anyway. So, a very hands-off approach from both teams, and this is where it really is kind of that game of very small gains.
Try to get those little advantages and turn them on as much as you can. But Fnatic, they found a hole here as Foxy was not able to get in time. That's Fnatic knocking down the outer turret. They've evened the tower score.
It's not Foxy. Look, Betsy's top. Betsy is so much of that wave clear. Hyanan, no ultimate, did no wave clear. Betsy was top lane trying to clear out what was a stacking wave against them, and that's the mistake the ROCCAT making, and now they lose mid tower. Think about how difficult it's been for ROCCAT to get anything against Fnatic over the last 10 minutes. And now they lose even more ground in the mid lane on top of that as well. Now they have to try and set up vision plays like Maxwell hiding in a bush.
Well, he is Rengar.
He is, but like now you're trying to dive under a almost full health tower against
no one's falling for that one on Fnatic's
Ezreal at 27 minutes. That's not happening.
Yeah, and everywhere that ROCCAT are trying to push in, they're finding that Fnatic are, sending pretty much countermeasures in place. Maxwell goes in for a desperation charge. Betsy's around the side. They've knocked up Maxwell, but he's still tanky enough to absorb it. There's a big redemption to keep him nice and healthy, and Betsy finds himself 1v3 right now. I don't think he can live through that, and Caps pops him.
It's been a rough commit for ROCCAT on that. Maybe they get the tower from it, which, if you look at it in an isolated situation, the tower going over is actually the more beneficial trade here for ROCCAT. They kind of had to force something to try and respond to Fnatic's play onto mid lane themselves.
Fnatic still looking to chase, though. They're pushing in the mid, keeping ROCCAT away from defending their own tower. Still 5 members strong here, grabbing themselves a little bit of jungle camp on the way. So as Caps, Broxah all on the front line. Reckless trying to pew-pew into the back, and Foxy's here with Dominus on. He goes to slicing, but he gets swallowed up, and that's a big Chaos Storm. What did is caught. Key Grey Health's in time, but this tower may not be so lucky. Curtain Call is barely scratching the armor of Soaz and Caps, and that's a tower.
12 minutes of tension results in 2 mid towers. Well, 3 now as Fnatic take it, and 1 kill. There was a standoff for so long. Maxwell eventually ends up dropping in the jungle, and from that, they're able to pick off Betsy. In fact, sorry, it was Betsy that died in the jungle, and from there, it was easy pick on that inner tower for Fnatic. ROCCAT trying desperately to hold on, but Fnatic have been able to regain themselves a little bit of the standing in this matchup.
Yeah, looking to close the net. They're 1 game up. Remember, ROCCAT need to force a game 3, needing those points. It gets harder and harder from here on out, and the Giants have to be looking on, hoping that Fnatic can close this one out. It makes their lives easier in the fight for relegation and avoiding it.
Yeah, I think though when you look at this, like, it's slow out of ROCCAT. Like,
except for their move speed.
Right, that's fair. Nobody's arguing against that, but when you look at like the level of team they're against, when it comes to the promotion tournament and Giants and teams that are going to be in that bracket, where it's bottom of LCS, promotion tournament teams, ROCCAT are showing that they at least can hold on and maintain a lead for a while.
That's true.
It's enough that I'm not as worried about ROCCAT now as I was coming back into the break after IEM Katowice. There was that pause, and ROCCAT had been looking really rough up until week 5. But 2 wins on the week last week, and ROCCAT are kind of holding on against Fnatic now with the lead that they're maintaining.
Yeah, general improvements for this team too, and it's, if there's ever a time for it to come across, now has got to be it. So maybe they're not going to be able to get themselves out of the promotion tournament territory, but they have a very good chance of surviving that for sure. The way they are playing currently in this series, we've just hit 30 minutes on the clock. It is 2-2 in kills, a very low kill game. But now Fnatic are sending a lot of people down towards the bottom side. Let's see if Reckless, no, he doesn't want to go in.
Thinks about it.
Still a big crocodile.
For about a minute. Reckless is looking at his items being like, want the Blade of the Ruin King before I do that one.
Okay, teleport, and Fnatic, they're looking to throw some weight up in this top side. Foxy, he's not going to follow through just yet. Let's see if he keeps on pushing. ROCCAT had cleared out the vision around the Baron Pit. Becomes the biggest objective, has been for some time now, but this is where teams are starting to seriously look at it.
Fnatic moving mid again. Every time they're just like, okay, can we push mid? No. Okay, let's move back. Can we push mid? No. It's worked out for them once, maybe twice, but Soaz has been just walking bot, clearing this out. It's been a very relaxing game for him.
Yeah, leisurely stroll down to the bottom lane. He gets his morning routine, just taking out the minions, and now ROCCAT, they have a lot of people stacked up towards this Baron Pit, but there's vision for Fnatic in it. ROCCAT are going to check it. Bird goes in first.
Got to scout it out.
Swain getting all that information.
Pretty gnarly history of birds being used to, like, I'm Welsh, so it's a lot about coal mines.
Oh.
Used to send the canary down and then...
Wow. Is that where that phrase comes from?
What?
Canary in a coal mine?
I would imagine so. I've never heard that phrase, but if we're talking about canaries being used to scout coal mines, then I'm assuming yes. Yeah. That's likely where the
those
phrase
are just as
from.
dangerous as Baron Pits, unfortunately. So Betsy is definitely not treating his birds too well. Let's see if he can send them after Fnatic, get this fight. There's 3 members here. The rest are bringing up the rear. It's Jezz and Soaz. Anchors away as he looks to get into the front, and they clear back the ROCCAT vision. It's just going to be a war of attrition for a while. unless Fnatic can get a catch here. There's the curtain call open. True shot barrage nails Yarnin, but he's just tickled by it. Damage coming, never move. And Foxy, where's he going? Dominus on. He finds Broxa. There's the redemption for the rest of ROCCAT. Fnatic are going to slip out through the back door.
Yeah, ROCCAT enough to kind of deter Fnatic's engage. Krabs, you can see.
Oh yeah, he's not happy.
This, I mean, it's because it's such a stalemate. At this point, like, when you're watching a team as a coach, you don't have a lot of control, if any, over this game. And you're watching, like, plays fail, at least, like, stumble and stall out. You can look at the composition on the other side from Fnatic. I mean, on the very, very short term that I had this when I was working with Team Dignitas, it's like the frustration you have over not being able to control anything is so tough to deal with. And now you can see the all-in on the Baron, at least from Fnatic, from ROCCAT for a moment, prompts Fnatic to come up. Now they buy the time for Faxi because they know for Soaz, he's got no teleport. He has to be around the Baron area. So this is a start to a good play out of ROCCAT. All they have to do is deter the push from Fnatic.
Yeah, looks like they'll have enough to nail it. Faxi finally, his efforts pay off.
That's the kind of play that Grabs would be looking for. Okay, it's slower than he would like, but ROCCAT are trying to maintain this lead, trying to utilize their mobility that they have from these 3 Cloud Drakes. It is a slow and steady race here, though.
Well, let's see who wins it. ROCCAT with their 3 Cloud Drakes getting back in position in front of this Baron, but they don't want to commit to it. You see 3 Fnatic members still hanging around. It's Broxa, it's Caps, and Jez's. They have a lot of damage between them, and you know, Fnatic have stuck together as a unit. They do not allow themselves to get picked off, and it's reflected in the low kill count of this game. 33.5 minutes and 4 kills on the total. It just is not the biggest action game because these teams don't want to give anything up. ROCCAT, they're going to start on this Baron. True shot barrage goes a little bit wide. Even a system on it. Ping's flying now. Faxi has his teleport.
Yeah,
Faxi, keep leading the minions in. He's
heading back to that bot lane, though. ROCCAT, it's enough. The commit and the retreat is enough for Fnatic to come up to that Baron pit. They have to check it, so as still no TP. Which means that Faxi's going to push 2 minions in, and will be enough to, you know,
one auto
get
attack.
That backdoor, you know, debuff.
I mean, this is like... This is slow, man. They're just chipping away at it every time.
Yeah. Faxi's gonna go in, land 1 auto, run back out, run back in, land another auto.
Hey, you know, if it didn't regen, that would eventually work.
Unfortunately, though, it does. So we're going to be here a long time if that's the game plan. ROCCAT, once again, they're going to start the Baron.
Okay.
Force Fnatic to come across. Faxi has TP. This one's the engage if they pull the trigger on it. Caps. Oh, they don't quite get it.
Oh, Caps. Oh, he's getting caught right now, and the redemption is going to heal up Max Lore, and the alternate one didn't do the damage, and now Foxy goes in. He finds Caps. Can ROCCAT win this fight? It is all blown open in the blink of an eye as Soaz is on the front line, stopping up the damage from ROCCAT, keeping him locked up, but now it's Wadid who swallows him up, and Yarnin keeping the rest of Fnatic occupied. Betsy goes golden. They get Soaz's Guardian Angel. Wadid a little bit low, and Yarnin turns around the side. They finish off the big tank, and it's a 2-0.
A slow fight out of ROCCAT because they had to very carefully balance the front line. Everything had to be meticulous because Betsy, forced into his Sonias, couldn't heal up. ROCCAT took a lot of damage. Eventually to come out of the fight with 2 kills, but it's not enough to just turn for that Baron right away. 30 seconds on Soaz. He does now have teleport available. Caps will be alive for any kind of Baron attempt out of the ROCCAT lineup. They don't have any way of getting into that pit quickly. They don't have an Abyssal Voyage, nothing like that, and they still have to deal with a few wards around here. ROCCAT have been spotted out. Fnatic know that this is happening, but they're not in a position to actually react to it. Still 7 seconds on Soaz. Fnatic are going to concede the Baron. ROCCAT right back in this.
Slow and steady wins the big purple worm. ROCCAT find out as they get themselves the Baron. Fnatic turning now for this Mountain Dragon that had been on the Rift. Let's see what ROCCAT can make do with their Baron buff for the next 3.5.
ROCCAT knows that Reckless is in the bot lane, so they're going to try and at least buff up the minions topside. Look at how Maxlor is sitting just beside Betsy, or at least was, waiting for Caps, maybe, to cross over.
Widid's found Broxa.
Widid, they found Broxa.
Well, let's see if they can get him here. He eats him up, and the curtain call is still going. That's another shot. He's got the Sterix gauge, but that is not enough to keep him alive as Foxy gets the kill, trading Dragon for the jungler. That's 49 seconds still before he comes back up.
And that's quite a hit now to some of the wave clearing aspects that Graves, of course, offers. Now Betsy has to deal with 3 members of Fnatic on that top side. This is Caps, Soaz, and Reckless are all up trying to catch Betsy, but look at the commit on the bot side from Widid. They're looking for that inhibitor.
He's tanky enough to stay alive for now, and Maxlord's even on the mid.
Actually has
They're
survived.
getting everything.
Fnatic had to pull all the way back. ROCCAT getting the inhibitor. Now he's
1v2.
actually out trading Soaz.
Oh my goodness, 1v3, he gets the kill and he flashes out. Betsy making a big play. Reckless locked up by the never move. This is great for ROCCAT right now.
And Betsy doesn't commit to the fight with Reckless on the tail end. He knows that healing will not exist. And ROCCAT, in game 2, they're looking to fire a shot to even this series up. He just killed Reckless.
He got him, and there is no hope right now for Fnatic to really try and push this one back. There's Jez's Broxa Caps, but Baron empowered minions. Swain's coming down from the top lane, and they are looking to push in for these Nexus turrets. They may not get them just yet, but they are holding strong.
The super minions are going to do, or at least the Baron minions are going to do a lot of work here.
And there's double redemption, and for Fnatic, I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep them alive. Still some time before Soaz and Reckless are due to come back up. And now Betsy has joined the fray in the mid side. Looks like they're going to take their time about it, though, and grab themselves more inhibitors.
Got to get that 3rd inhibitor down at this point. ROCCAT, they want to ensure that they have so many minions pushing through. Betsy,
gets eaten up by Widid. There's a Chaos Storm on. The great health for Widid, keeping him alive. Betsy a little bit low, but now Widid's giving his life. Let's see if ROCCAT can stay alive on the back side of it.
3 seconds on Reckless.
Fairy Tale might have turned into a nightmare here. Yarnen's getting knocked up. Betsy a little low. Cap still trying, but it's protect the big Birdman, and the True Shot Barrage is not enough. There's a heal coming out of Yarnen. Desperate fight here. Yarnen taking down Caps on the back half. Maxlor will give his life. For the rest of ROCCAT, only Yarnen, Betsy, and Foxy walking away to tell the tale.
Everything about this game has been prolonged. ROCCAT in the base, 3 inhibitors now down, allows their next push maybe to be the critical moment of the game where they can secure a win. Look at how low these Nexus towers have gone already. Fnatic, they're going to need a miracle to dig themselves out of this hole, but if anything, they've got it. The Ezreal, they've got the Victor for the late game team fighting. We've just seen them able to clean up.
Yeah, and here was how the fight all started. It really looked like ROCCAT were going to be able to close this one out, but a big Chaos Storm from Caps.
Yeah, a lot of damage from Caps now as he's past that 4-item point. Real difficult to survive against 4-item Victor. And from there, it's just a long fight up this top lane. Everything trying to just kill Betsy, trying to get whatever they can. They'll take any kills here for Fnatic is a good sign. ROCCAT will have their Baron buff expire, and they will be able to reset now. But 3 inhibitors down in favor of ROCCAT means that Fnatic basically are stuck in their base.
Yeah, but if there's any team that has experience coming back from 3 inhibitors down, it's Fnatic.
Yeah, we saw that series against the Unicorns where they looked to be in the same kind of spot, but Fnatic bounced back in that game. Wasn't enough for their series win, but certainly game 1 of that series was turned on its head by a late game Fnatic team fight.
Yeah, well, late game has been the name of it. 40 minutes now on the clock. We've seen this series go pretty long, even though it's only game number 2. The rest of Fnatic trying to stop the onslaught. The minions pushing in. Double super minions in all the lanes. ROCCAT just buying their time. Slow and steady was the name of this game. But they have all the movement speed to be able to find the openings. Can Fnatic hold on? Redemption coming in here for ROCCAT. Soaz in the front, mixing it up. And nobody wants to start the fight. Here comes the curtain call. Is it enough? Soaz is locked up. Maxlor goes in. He finds Caps, but that shield is strong. Holding out here. Betsy getting knocked up. There's redemption here for Fnatic. Widid, he's in trouble. Has to hold on to Betsy for just a few seconds. That's a big burst of damage. Fnatic might have done it. Caps going low, but Foxy cannot finish him off as Reckless gets Maxlor. Widid's taken out. That's a double kill for Reckless. Looking to clean up Yarnen and Foxy. Can they do it? It's a shutdown onto Yarnen, and now Foxy's Guardian Angel goes down.
Fnatic with another late game team fight.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Tension intensifies. Wow.
Of course, we will update you and figure out exactly the information on this one, but Fnatic just holding on. It is ROCCAT that have paused this, and ROCCAT on the tail end of a fight, you have to think the ROCCAT, they looked like they were ramping this game up.
Yeah, tail end of getting aced.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, as we paused, it's Foxy the only one alive, and that's not for long, but man, it was just one step out of line and not being able to continually push. But that's such a tense moment to have the pause come down, too.
I mean, you consider it like ROCCAT, 3 inhibitors down. Enough of a lead. They're kind of marching into the base. This is ROCCAT's last fight where they're even the ones calling this shot. So
well, there's long death timers at this point, but I mean, Fnatic have no base.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta like look at that setup. It's ROCCAT that start that fight. Fnatic come out of the fight with more people alive off a massive Chaos Storm coming out from Caps. Just the damage out of Victor was insane. But
yeah, that was something.
Obviously, once we have an update, we will pass it on to everybody. So for ROCCAT and Fnatic, 8 kills apiece on this game, 41 minutes in. Fnatic have almost equalized a gold lead that ROCCAT have had for the entire game. And that's where we find ourselves at this point. Long death timers, 4 members of ROCCAT are down.
So getting word from the back, it's league officials currently investigating that. Betsy said he used his Zanya's Hourglass, and it didn't go off. So we'll see what the outcome of that is in just a minute.
Critical moment in that fight as well. He was eaten by Widid first, spat back out, and that was the moment that Chaos Storm struck. So for ROCCAT,
I know, you got to take a minute to take a breather.
Yeah.
Honestly, the game was so slow, back and forth, objectives traded, just towers for the most part, and it was 2-2 in kills at like 30 minutes, but then it just came alive.
Yeah, this has been a very tenacious series out of both teams. I mean, Fnatic's in game 1, starting with a lead. The lead drops away. ROCCAT look like they've taken the Baron. They're able to turn the game around, and Fnatic get themselves the Elder Drake and end up winning game 1. And this game, ROCCAT, at most points, kind of turning around the advantages that Fnatic had in game 1 in the early game and being able to maintain a lead for the entire game. It was slow, sure, but ROCCAT have had a good lead this entire game.
Yeah. Sounds like we've got a replay queued up. Let's go ahead and take a look into it. I believe it's coming in around 30 minutes or so on the clock just to check out how we really got to this point.
Okay.
This is the 38-minute fight,
This is actually the fight we, I believe, just watched. So you see Betsy gets eaten up by Widid with that Chaos Storm down, and then the rest of the fight carries through. Caps gets a big boost of movement speed here. Betsy dodges even out from the laser. No, wait, this is
this is the fight where he gets away.
It just looks identical. This is the one that Betsy gets away. So, was watching for something completely different. This is the one that Betsy actually escapes from the fight. This is the one that the kind of ROCCAT had done critical damage to the base. You can see 3 inhibs are down. It forced them back away. And that was about 2 minutes before the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it definitely has been a couple of repeated situations. And it looks like we're going to dive back into that final fight, and we'll see how much different it actually ended up being. ROCCAT were able to climb away with a couple of members at least, or 3 members at least, at the end of it, and Maxler kind of sacrificing himself. Crazy that Betsy got out alive in that one and all, but let's take a look where he wasn't so lucky.
So this is the fight that just happened. This is Betsy. We're obviously going to keep our eyes on him. This is what is being investigated currently by league officials. But Betsy trying to hold that front line as he's done on this Swain pick the entire game. But the healing gets cut through. Chaos Storm is ticking on top of them. Widid eats him up. And then the damage comes through. Look at that damage comes from Graves. Maxlaw gets pulled in as well. And while it's being investigated from our side, from league officials' side, like ROCCAT, of course, will be heartbroken at that fight going against them, regardless of how things play out. ROCCAT looked like they were closing in on Fnatic.
Yeah, and you know, even no matter what happens too, it's still Fnatic without much of a base, holding on by the skin of their teeth and by shreds of Nexus turrets. But getting an ace on ROCCAT there, huge momentum to turn around and kind of push back time and time again. We've seen Fnatic do this type of thing. We saw it last week against the Unicorns. Throughout their history, even with different players in the Fnatic jerseys, we've seen them hold for crazy amounts of time. I mean, just think back to last year with the 80-minute Origin game.
I mean, I think you can take a Fnatic from any point in history.
There's a lot to do with Nexuses going real low, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many Fnatic lineups. Something must be in the water in the Fnatic house.
Maybe.
It's all about holding on in late game fights. Always unpredictable later on.
And let's take a step back and talk about what's important for this series. Because for Fnatic, on the edge of winning at 2-0, even though the game has definitely been going against them for the better part of the last 10 minutes, to maybe understate it, they get themselves with a win in a pretty safe position. First off, they completely would, it would mean that for them that there's no possibility they'd get into the relegation zone anymore, even if that was a slim possibility. Fnatic looking pretty happily towards playoffs, but you still have to secure that lead. A win here against ROCCAT, kind of puts Giants a little bit more out of touch as well. Obviously puts things very, very difficult for ROCCAT to try to make it happen. And Fnatic, they're still playing for those playoffs to try and have a later season surge. And
Fnatic, over the last couple of weeks have been vocal about how they've been trying to turn things around. I think for ROCCAT right now, I look at this series and game one, okay, the history books already have that written as a loss for them, but I think there were improvements you can see. Game two has been really solid from them throughout the entire game long, right? And I think that the progression we've seen out of ROCCAT is something that you can't understate heading towards either a safe spot or a promotion tournament spot for them, where ROCCAT look a lot stronger now than they were doing in the beginning weeks of the split.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's always disappointing when your efforts don't result in the all-important wins, the points on the board. But what matters is if you can get that improvement towards the end of the split, no matter what, if you get into promotion, as you said, you can still fight your way out. If you get into the safe spot, great. You just come back stronger for the summer split. I mean, it's always a tough experience to go through when you lose week in and week out. But even some of the early weeks of the split, ROCCAT had some close matches. They just weren't able to pull it out in the end, and it's oh so close when you just lose by inches. It
makes for a very exciting last couple of weeks of the split.
Oh yeah,
for ROCCAT. If they're doing this against Fnatic, whether it's a game or a series that they can take off one of the teams above them, then sets them up for a showdown with Giants. That's all or nothing for both teams, right? It is a win there, basically seals your fate. But I think the improvements that have been made from them are really impressive.
Yeah, we have that one obviously coming up on Saturday, and regardless of how this match turns out, it's still a very important thing for both the teams over in Group A towards the bottom of the table, really fighting to get themselves out of the relegation zone, but also fighting to just get themselves in a good position towards the end of it. But let's zoom out a little bit further, because this is the first week. We've had a couple of games now to look at patch 7.5 and what's changed. And maybe surprisingly, the stuff that hasn't changed.
Yeah, there's a lot of familiarity, right? The Jhin everybody thought was going to be gone has worked out very well for Hyanan in this series. We've seen a few adjustments, maybe a tougher jungle start for this Rengar that got exploited in game one very well, but then adjustments made again to get it safer through. And then the Ezreal we've seen a couple of times now. Every game Reckless has put in on it has looked pretty good so far this split.
There's something to be said for comfort for Reckless as well. And even though Ezreal is definitely not like a not strong pick by any metric, it's something that hadn't been the biggest of priorities for a lot of teams, maybe minus Fnatic for some time. But the way he's able to play it, that really kind of demonstrates a level of mastery that you don't often all the time see across the board, across the world, in fact. I mean, there are a handful of players that have these very, very signature picks, and when they play them, it's just majestic to watch, in all honesty. But, that's enough for us. While officials are still investigating the issue, we're going to go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk. So take it away for now, guys.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Now, League officials, they have confirmed that Bedzzy did trigger his Zhonya's Hourglass, but he did so as he was being devoured by Tahm Kench, and they are currently investigating whether that interaction was the result of a bug or is part of the normal course of play. League Ops are investigating that right now. Gives us a chance to recap the game up to this point, where we just saw Fnatic obviously not losing the game, but fighting back. But how did we get to this point? First up, a good early game coming out of ROCCAT and Maxlor.
Yeah, Maxlor popped off. I think he's 2 kills in the game that ROCCAT still had it all the way until the very end. Came very early in the game, and this time Broxah couldn't outduel him, couldn't outpath. Despite Broxah being level 5 versus level 4 here, there was a much faster collapse here, and also the value of a Tahm Kench in that collapse potentially never came to be, but it was just overeager invade. And I think we saw Fnatic not being on the same page.
ROCCAT made a great map movement to the top half of the map, and really they did a good job of punishing the mispositions of Fnatic's weaker early game composition. When you have an Ezreal, when you have the Victor, it doesn't really have the same level of impact as, say, the LeBlanc from game 1 does in the early game. But this time, ROCCAT said, look, we can look to punish you, we can look to take advantage of that, but thanks to the great scaling that Fnatic have, when you have a champion like Victor, you can just wave clear for days, which is why it resulted in this really long time period where nothing really happened, because even though ROCCAT had good control over the map, it became very difficult for them to then force things.
So, yeah.
ROCCAT was just prioritizing the wrong objectives. They took very long to open up like a tier 2 tower in the top lane, and while that accelerates your gold lead a tiny bit, if you're ROCCAT and you're playing a bit on a timer, you really want to get access to that Baron much sooner. So you want to like start putting vision around the enemy blue buff. You want to get control right there. You want to force Fnatic to face check multiple times. Eventually they had side lane pressure on bot lane, which was great. Faxi put some pressure there, but still they were very scared. They didn't have the right vision in place, and that's why they stalled. It all ended kind of when Caps misplayed a little bit and got caught, and that eventually gave ROCCAT the Baron, and that point it broke, but Fnatic was actually able to hold it very well.
Yeah, definitely. We are going to take a look at another fight. 34 minutes into the game where things went good for ROCCAT because they ended up getting Baron off this one. And yeah, it's not coming up just now. It's not coming up just now.
Shots got juked, but basically what ended up happening is I get the replay for me is like Caps gets picked off on the left side. He has a really nice flash, but the damage is done because Faxi comes in with a teleport, and that's exactly what they want right now. Once Caps drops, he's no longer that control mage in the team fight.
The big player, the key player for Fnatic really is Victor, and it was funny because Crepo and I were talking about this game throughout the split, as you'd expect, and we was very much like, okay, what do ROCCAT need to do to be able to win? It's just like, oh, if Caps dies, then maybe they can win. And the worst thing Caps could have done is take that avenue by himself straight into the warm, loving embrace of ROCCAT, where they quickly crushed his hopes and dreams, and that resulted in a Baron, which ROCCAT knew exactly how to use.
Yeah, he needs a safe path around there. It's understandable.
It happened a couple of times, to be honest.
I mean, he was playing pretty well movement-wise. Like, this was the first like major mistake. Later on, he kept dying more, but previous to this play, he actually played pretty well because he was playing like side lane Victor at times. The problem is you need to kind of go all the way around. So like you need to walk through your base to mid lane, and sometimes you just you kind of get bored of that on stage, and you feel like you're pressured into face checking, into kind of the vacuum of vision that's around Nashor. There's literally complete darkness. But I think Fnatic did a great job holding. I would still put the blame a tiny bit on ROCCAT for not executing that Baron play that well.
All right. Well, with that, we see we're still in a in-game pause for ROCCAT, so we are going to talk for a little bit more. I do want to ask you about the Victor pick in general, because beforehand you said, oh, I want to see something that plays forward, even in lane. Yeah, it doesn't really add up into the swing pick as well, which is something which
Victor
is kind of a special
definitely does not play forward in lane. The lucky thing about Victor is that if you survive the early game against a weaker team, I love Victor as a champion, because, you know, a team...
Do you? I mean, like, as a champion, I think that he's, like...
Yeah, I choose what I love, Vidius.
I mean, that's very true. That's very true.
There are no questions when it comes to matters of the heart.
I think that when you look at Victor, he's such a linear champion that's super easy to play. Yeah. And, like, he does his job well.
Victor is not easy to play.
I think that he's very straightforward, personally, from my experiences as a mid laner. And I think
your Victor might be easy to play, but a nice Victor is not easy to play, because that champion, I mean, he's easy to wave clear with, but the thing is, when you play against a team that is inexperienced like ROCCAT, you know their macro is average at best. You play a wave clear champion in the mid lane, they can always stall you the game, and late game, he's a powerhouse in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear the end of this discussion, but I do have an update for you guys. It has been determined that Betsy hit Zhonya's as he was devoured by Tahm Kench, and as he was spit out, Betsy was Zhonya'd. That is an intended interaction, and we will be resuming the game from the point it was paused, so let's send it over to the casters.
Thank you very much, Shox, for that explanation. So, without further ado, we'll be getting back into the game, but it's been on a cliffhanger. All the Rangers, they got killed, and now they got to come back up and once again fight it out to the end.
So at this point, we are 41 minutes in. We just had the official word on the interaction coming from League officials there. So we are getting ready to get back into the game. We're not quite at that moment yet, but we will be jumping back in very shortly. In fact, I'm seeing it unpause.
Here we go. So it looks like we're in the end of the pause. So that's Faxi getting aced, and as it's 41 minutes in, 9 to 8 in kills. Fnatic, remember, they have barely a base. They're still double supers, but there's some death timers on the ROCCAT side.
A desperate hold from Fnatic. There is no Baron for 1 minute 40. There is no Elder for a minute. So ROCCAT right now, they still have the lead in this game. Remembering back before that last fight, ROCCAT had 3 inhibitors down, pushing for what they were hoping would be a game-winning fight. Fnatic, however, held on. And ROCCAT, at this point, have to try once more to try and close this game out.
Yeah, definitely the result of that fight. Disappointing for ROCCAT, but with that long time down, in all honesty, that's time that you can regroup for the things and make big plays. They're on to Jez's. Exhaust down, and that is going to be Wadid swallowing up Jez's as he was out there trying to get the vision. Do they have the damage to finish the job? The rest of Fnatic coming in. There's a shield. Maxlor's caught. Redemption's on. Oh boy. Maxlor stays alive, but so does Jez's.
But look at this. Reckless was up on the top side. They still have top and mid inhibitor to respawn. Bot just came up, which means ROCCAT will have position over the Elder Drake, which comes up in 10 seconds. Baron is up in 40. And keep in mind, ROCCAT already have 3 Drakes to their name. So if they do manage to get this, that's a very fast ROCCAT lineup.
No kidding, and the extra burn won't hurt either. They're going to start off with 2, but it was spotted by Fnatic before the control ward went down. Wadid and Betsy, now they're going to bring the rest. ROCCAT are doubling down on this one. Only Faxi's not joining the party, but Fnatic are looking to respond. Here comes the true shot. It nails Wadid, not a lot of damage. Dragon looks like it's going to reset.
And now we're into, I mean, for these players, it's a super, super late game. We heard, you know, in the pause last week, the mental fatigue that happens. It was about a 10 to 15 minute pause, and now ROCCAT trying to make this decision. They want to go for this Elder Drake.
This is
2k health.
No caps here, but there could
Reckless
be a smite by Reckless on the back. Let's see if they can do it. They've got Broxer though. He's had to back away for now.
Look at
the
that.
rocket finish. They get it. They got it. Faxi's pushing on the bottom side. Fnatic, they realize they can't get anything off of this, and Soaz is locked up by the Never Move. Maxlor flashes and goes in for Broxer. There's going to be a redemption. Will it be enough to redeem Fnatic? Wadid swallows up Maxlor.
But for now, it's enough for ROCCAT. ROCCAT have 3 Cloud Drakes plus Elder to augment it. Now ROCCAT, all they have to do is deny the Fnatic Baron attempt as it starts, get the rest of their team healthy, and bring them back to the fight. ROCCAT still can contest this against Fnatic. Look at this, now they've used the Abyssal Voyage. They're bringing everything in. Broxer is still very, very low. Fnatic cannot afford to all in this Baron.
They cannot, and they back away here. ROCCAT, they've started the Baron themselves. They throw down some vision. Fnatic, they're not going for it.
The inhibs are up for Fnatic. They can't really get pushed in right now, but ROCCAT have got a Baron uncontested. Fnatic did not contest. They didn't want the fight. They were still low, and that has to be the nail in the coffin, as ROCCAT will have Baron buff now. 3 exposed inhibitors. Fnatic, they're going to need at least another last-ditch fight to try and hold on to this one.
Baron buff. Elder Drake.
Yeah.
They've got 3 open inhibitors, as you said, to pick and choose. ROCCAT, if there is ever the time, it is the next 3 minutes to make the big play.
It has been a very hard-fought game for ROCCAT. It's been about 70 minutes since they sat down in the chairs to begin picks and bans, so it has to be wearing on ROCCAT right now, but they are so close to evening up this series. Fnatic, however, have been so close to hanging on and making it a 2-0. Both teams right now, 1 mistake is the difference between a Fnatic 2-0 or a ROCCAT 1-1 split to go into game 3.
Yeah, you talk about mental fatigue. Well, going into game 3, that would be one hell of a reset. 45 minutes in, eclipsing the last game on the series now. Betsy marching in the top. The rest of the team in the mid and the bot. The curtain calls open, and now it's the Baron empowered minions. They've caught Caps. Can they finish him? No, he goes golden.
Good
redemption
Zhonya's
coming in. It's a double redemption now. There was the Zhonya's that Caps is looking for. Maxlor caught a little bit low, but they've got 1 inhib. Turning on to 2. There's little Fnatic can do to push it back.
And Faxi's pushing in the bot lane as well. It's a game of biding their time once again from ROCCAT. Feels like half an hour ago we saw grabs already very tense.
I think it might have been.
As this game continues, ROCCAT want to just buff up as many of these minions. Maxlor has to be careful.
He's got no flash on the map. Oh man, can he live? No, he can't. It's Soaz that finished him.
And Hyun and Wadid had recalled from the situation, and again, we find ourselves in a state where Fnatic 3 inhibitors are down. ROCCAT this time have Baron buff. Elder Dragon has expired, but that Baron buff for another 1 minute 20 is going to make things a little tough. Fnatic can't gain too much more ground, but without Maxlor, ROCCAT can't push in. They don't want to take a 4 versus 5. Fnatic have already shown they can hold on.
Fnatic looks like they'll continue to do so for a little while. The Baron buff, only a minute left on it now, but they did manage to grab all the inhibitors once again. Fnatic will have to defend against the double super minions, and if ROCCAT want to keep on pushing, the Baron empowerment as well.
You can see ROCCAT and Fnatic have traded that gold lead between that 30 and now 47-minute mark, back and forth.
But that gold doesn't matter too much anymore, Stress. 47 minutes on the clock.
We're at the point where gold leads aren't much, but what could end up being the difference maker, 3 Cloud Drakes allows ROCCAT to maneuver very quickly, potentially outmaneuver Fnatic, but the problem is Fnatic in their base have the shortest path between lanes that is possible. Can they survive the onslaught of super minions? Maxlor is back. Now it's all about this fight over the Nexus Towers. ROCCAT looking to close in for the win.
It was the thrill of the hunt, but now it's the thrill of pushing. Can they finish the job? Betsy a little bit low. He gets the Zhonya's off that time, and the Chaos Storm's there. He's going to have to flash away. The Death Laser doesn't do enough. Faxi, though, is tanking the rest of Fnatic. He goes low himself. Soaz is going to be caught, taken down. That's Guardian Angels of both the top laners. Broxa's taken low. It's a desperate fight to the finish as Soaz takes down Betsy, but it's going to be the last Nexus turret is falling.
Faxi's retreating.
Foxy's going back. ROCCAT, they're getting flashbacks from last time, Stress. Can they stay alive? Maxlor's down. One did's gonna fall. Yarden and Faxi walk away. They got the Nexus turrets, but not the Nexus.
ROCCAT have been routed again, a second time. ROCCAT have been pushed back away from Fnatic, and this game continues. Fnatic have held with 5 members again, but it is not over yet. They are not out of danger. And ROCCAT, they are desperately trying to end this game.
Dude, the 300 Spartans have got nothing on Fnatic. These guys know how to freaking hold a base. ROCCAT just trying to finish the job, but they didn't even touch the Nexus.
This time, no real setup for ROCCAT that they could get an advantage from this. You can see Betsy dropped low. Zhonya's in the Chaos Storm, has to flash himself away, and then tries to heal up, but ends up getting taken down, I believe, by Soaz once he comes out of the GA. I want to see what actually does the damage here. Is it Broxa? They get a good amount of damage down. It was Caps, a laser comes through. You can see the some of the changes. Let's look at how much lifesteal Jhin gets back. Just hits Caps, tries to get himself out alive, and ROCCAT can't quite find the kill on Caps, Broxa, or Reckless, and so the fight continues. ROCCAT, there wasn't a lot of objectives to take for them, so Baron power play is in the negatives. Yeah, if there's only Nexus Towers left, there's not a lot to take.
Well, there'll be another Baron in 1:30, and ROCCAT could be eyeballing that one. Once again, Fnatic still holding. They have nothing but a Nexus until the inhibitors come back up, and it looks like at the rate we're going, that's going to happen. We are close, dangerously close to the 50-minute mark on the clock. ROCCAT are just trying to close the net, but Fnatic, they keep slipping through.
Baron in 1 minute. This time, no Elder to fight for before that. And if observers, I know we don't normally do this late in the game, if we can toggle to Fnatic vision for just a moment. Thank you very much. You can see they only have vision on their base. 3 blue trinkets, we can bring it back to full vision, and we can take a look at ROCCAT setting up. Fnatic know it through intrinsic just game knowledge. You have to know there's only one place ROCCAT can be, but Fnatic to get there, to contest at 50 minutes into this game is going to take careful stepping forward once these inhibs are up. It's going to be a very, very difficult attempt if they're going to try and deny ROCCAT this Baron.
Slow and steady. Crucial for ROCCAT. Once again, inhibitors starting to respawn. That's 1, that's 2. The 3rd is about to come up, and Fnatic, they've held, they've survived.
There you go.
It's like they're playing Horde mode.
All 3 are back up.
But there's a Baron on the horizon, Stress. Will it be enough?
ZZ Rock Portal.
Yeah, deploy him at this point.
Built.
You buy him, you sell him. It doesn't
somebody
even matter.
did buy it and sell it. I want to know whose it is. I'm going to go check.
I mean, we've seen when it comes up to like 5 of them. This game may very well get to that point, but ROCCAT, they don't want that to happen. You can see what did is nowhere near the rest of the team. It's a 3-man Baron right now. Maxlor and Yarden and Wadid are the ones that are hanging out towards the bottom side. Maxlor, Faxi, and Betsy are all the ones doing it. And they have the easy damage to make it happen.
It was Caps. He sold his Void Staff, bought his Easy Rock, bought a Void Staff. Oh, Fnatic.
Yeah, you got the money for it.
Fnatic. Like, so ROCCAT don't have vision on the base. They're trying to punish ROCCAT for moving quickly. It's a blind spot.
This is not the Death Brush, but it is an adaptation.
It's the Death Corner for Fnatic.
I think we got a standoff here.
ROCCAT are trying to death push. ROCCAT are trying to, Fnatic are trying to death corner.
I don't know if anyone can win that way. Ah, the game's up.
Well, I mean, ROCCAT have got to push with the Baron if they want to get it, but they put the minions first.
That was a tense few moments.
It's like those canaries in the mines.
We're going back to that, are we?
Well, a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah.
I think people think I didn't realize why canaries were the first in. Being Welsh, you've been down the mines, school trips, all that kind of thing, but right now it's not really mines. It's more like ROCCAT desperately trying to just clamor as much territory away from the Fnatic team as they can. There are wards behind ROCCAT. If Hyanan or Betsy misstep and Soaz can get himself onto one of them, maybe it's enough to stall out the fight. But again, we're going to 3 inhibitors.
Yep.
ROCCAT are going to play this out patiently. 52 minutes in. Betsy's going to be bot side though. Look at where Betsy is. This might be a signal for Fnatic if they can close in. It has been Betsy being out of position that has kind of cost ROCCAT a couple of times earlier on in the game. Think back to when mid tower fell. He was in the top side. Ooh, it is
1-3-1
tense.
in it. Oh boy. Fnatic have held this so many times now. They have been playing the holdout game against ROCCAT 53 minutes. There's still 2 minutes of Baron buff though, Stress.
It's been going long enough that Elder has come back up.
Our old friend, once again. I mean, ROCCAT had everything.
Yeah.
ROCCAT had everything, and they couldn't quite close it out, but they have another chance here.
However, inhibitors being up allows Fnatic a moment of safety to ward.
Just a moment.
They're assuming ROCCAT are on the Elder, as is, you know, the sensible assumption at that point. So they get a couple of deeper wards outside of their base.
Oh, there's 2 ZZ Rots.
Yeah, we got a second one. I'm not going to go back and check whose that was. I'm assuming it was like Soaz.
They just multiply after a while. At this point in the game, they just start popping up.
Could have been Reckless, but
it's a new game mechanic, Stress.
it was Fnatic, the old Fnatic, that did that. I believe it was the game against Unicorns of Love.
Yep.
All the way back. Here comes Soaz, though.
Okay, Soaz looking for the fight. Yarna gets caught out. Is that enough damage? Woodhid swallows him up. Maxlor still tanking in the front. Meanwhile, Faxi has turned back off the inhibitor. No, he's gone back to it.
ROCCAT shouldn't commit in mid here because look at top and bot. They're trying to...
They go at him. That's going to be it.
Into
They got one. Betsy, though, can he stay alive? There's a redemption. Betsy does not get blown away through the ZZ Rots and all. ROCCAT, they're looking to finish the job. They're going to go for the members now. Go for the fight. They've been playing all through the objectives. They've still got 30 seconds of Baron buff, but they're on the next hit. Go, ROCCAT Rangers. Wait a minute. I don't think they're going to do it. Wait.
Oh, okay.
That's it. It's over. They did it, Stress, and we are going to game 3.
Ooh, there were 2 GAs that got popped, and it looked for a moment like ROCCAT had lost the numbers advantage, but they push in and tie the series. Such a tenacious game out of both ROCCAT and Fnatic, dragging it super late.
A long pause, but 54.5 minutes of game time later, ROCCAT pull off the win, knocking down I don't know how many inhibitors in the process. I mean, that is definitely a credit to some mental fortitude to just finish the job after so many close calls.
Yeah, that was ROCCAT trying desperately to push as much as they can. They had done such a good job getting that lead up until that point. Of, you know, the triple inhibs basically 3 times having to get that down.
A couple of Elders. I lost track of the Barons and all. I should have just been taking a tally the whole time. I didn't know it was going to go that long, but, you know, it's on me, I suppose. Wow, that was impressive. Okay, this battle in Group A is really heating up now. Fnatic and ROCCAT tied in this best-of-3 series. We're going to head over to the analyst desk for a deeper dive into game number 2.
It's heating up. All right, Pyra, thank you very much. ROCCAT, in the end, they managed to break the base. I shouldn't just say break the base because they did that a couple of times, but break the Nexus and close it out. But damn, they did take blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of inhibitors.
It was pretty difficult for ROCCAT to close out in the end. Fortunately, they're able to finally do what they should have done quite a while ago, which is just use the minions. You can see they've actually set up a good 1-3-1. Betsy is able to get this fantastic, basically elimination of Caps in the fight. And we talked earlier on about how Fnatic, the only way in which they lose is if Caps ends up dying. And it really does help when your mid laner flashes into that
straight line, Betty. It hurts. Yeah, it hurts actually. But this was ROCCAT finally taking a patient approach here, really pushing in all the lanes. at once. Eventually, they realized they can just go for the Nexus. I like the engage from Fnatic. The little thing that was worth pointing out in this replay is that SOAS opened up with depth charge on with Deed to stop him from getting close for the Devour, and then he flashed onto Hjarnan himself. Imagine if Caps was close there, then he could have they could have just
Thank you for clarifying that, because I went, why would you go on Tom Kench? But that makes a lot of sense. That's exactly why you're here and you're getting paid the big bucks.
High five, Crapper.
Yeah,
High five. That's how you know, how you find out that is though if you play against Tom Kench and you flash an 80 carry constantly and you realize that this guy has the ball.
Wait a minute.
I usually play support or 80 carry or mid, so I'm never the one that flashes.
No, it's happened plenty of times to me.
Right.
But yeah, this was obviously poor finish, like a good finish in the end from ROCCAT, but let's put it that they learned throughout the game how to approach this ending phase.
Yeah, it took them quite a while. This is actually the earlier push that we saw from ROCCAT, and this is why we're a little bit critical of ROCCAT and their ability to close the game. And it was simply a matter of ROCCAT, rather than using their minions and Baron to end the game, they just tried to take a fight with the 2 towers up and overcommitting for an objective where they really shouldn't have. Just keep your eyes on Betsy ending up dropping because he was committing to the tower. Hjarnan's positioning again, focusing his eyes on the tower, and while later on this does result in them being able to end the game, it was just that decision from ROCCAT to say, let's go for the towers rather than trying to win the fight.
Yeah, I think SOAS just has a lot more experience in these team fights compared to Faxi as well. Because in these long drawn out fights with kind of team fight comps, the concept of like backline trading is something you have to really keep in mind. Like Faxi in the end, he was like double dashing through people while his team was walking backwards. So essentially he was peeling for no one. Whereas when SOAS was taking damage, there was 4 members of Fnatic returning fire onto ROCCAT. So SOAS was peeling for 4, Faxi was peeling for no one. And then SOAS spawns with GA again, and obviously they can buy more time previously as well. They find Betsy alone with no return fire, or the only fire was on SOAS. So it was really smart team fighting and kind of like target selection from Fnatic. But the problem is they need to do that perfect every single push to even consider surviving.
Also, we're going into a game 3 now, so let's travel back to what we talked about in the beginning, or before this series rather. It would be a test for both ones. ROCCAT with the momentum upwards and now being able to close out this game 2. But for Fnatic, a real test if they could climb back out and get that upwards trend going again. How is this going to affect them, and what do we think here? Because, in another world or a year ago, ROCCAT would have never won versus Fnatic, right? But you can't start thinking about that.
But this is also like, I'm somewhat okay with this draft from Fnatic because they can stall versus a team like ROCCAT, but it's still another like thing that has plagued Fnatic a lot. Late game scaling Ezreal, late game scaling Victor, and then like a passive tank. It's a great teamfight comp, but you just can't afford any mistakes because these picks, when they fall behind very like fast in terms of pressure. But the problem is, like, if you just stay even, then you have such a good team fight.
What would you replace that would maybe mediate that?
I think just you don't invade like Brock style, like you don't go for any greedy like early invades the way he died.
But in game 1, that is what we praised, right? And it put them on the front
The
foot.
slight variation there was just like good pathing from Roxa, rather than trying to just go for an invade without any vision, without proper pushing lanes, without the original support that he was supposed to have. It was just a slight shift, and I think that it was an element of disrespect from Fnatic. We're drafting a composition where they think ROCCAT cannot abuse our early game enough to try and actually get control over the game, and then Broxa almost, or kind of handed a first blood kill over to Maxlord to give ROCCAT a good early game to then set them up to punish all the Fnatic weaknesses in the early game.
It's actually really interesting because if you look at like Fnatic's faces right here, pretty kind of serene, like really serious. Like ROCCAT, they were all smiles. What Deed was like desperately looking for the camera to like give a little peace sign right there. So like ROCCAT definitely going with the momentum into game 3.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you say it like it's a funny thing, but maybe what Deed, like we saw it in his interview also last week, he seems to be a really positive
he's a happy
influence on
camper.
that team. He's a happy camper.
That's also what Grabs was talking about when they talked about the mentality of the team. Is like, yeah, I actually don't have to do much. My team does it for me. They're all really happy.
Yeah, it's definitely what you want a coach to say, by the way.
That's a different discussion. But it's great to see that ROCCAT in such a kind of losing environment. It's really easy to become negative, and a lot of bottom tier teams fall victim to it. So that's why you really have to appreciate people who, despite all that, can stay like super positive, even though it makes them look sometimes like they don't care. They do care, but they're just trying to like fix the team environment. And I think that's why I like seeing people like Wadid just always smiling.
Yeah, I mean, summer 2015, last time they beat 2 opponents back-to-back for ROCCAT. I don't even know how far we'd have to go back. That's why people can probably look that up for us. If they managed to beat 3 of them.
I was about to say, like, don't put me on the spot here, Shocks.
No.
I believe it was 2014, March 27, yeah.
No, okay, we're going to go to a break, but I do want a quick prediction who makes this in the end. Is Fnatic going to pull back, or ROCCAT going to close it out, guys?
I think Fnatic will pull back in this one.
It's the safe choice. I would Wouldn't be surprised if ROCCAT does it, but let's say Fnatic. But at this point, it's closer than many people would have thought before.
Definitely is exciting series up on our hands. Rather, up next, our final game of the evening. We'll see if ROCCAT can rock the standings in Group A when we come back after the break.
That's almost not it.
I'm gonna... Okay.
FNC open. Have they overcommitted trying to defend? It's Fnatic. It's Soaz. He's going down. It's Yarden that gets the kill. They've caught Faxi right now. He's going to have to flash away. Dominus on. Is it enough? No. Soaz, he's flashing in for it. And Broxa blows him away. There's a big redemption to keep him nice and healthy. And Betsy finds himself 1v3 right now. I don't think he can live through that. And Cap pops it. Yarden, desperate fight here. Yarden taking down Caps on the back half. Maxlor will give his life. Fnatic might have done it. Cap's going low, but Faxi cannot finish him off as Reckless gets Maxlor. But Dit's taken out. That's a double kill for Reckless. Looking to clean up Yarden and Faxi. Can they do it? It's a shutdown onto Yarden. And now Faxi's Guardian Angel goes down. Go, go, Rocket! Hang on! Wait a minute! I don't think they're going to do it! Wait, Yarden. Oh, okay. That's it. It's over. They didn't stress, and we are calling